Thank you, Gustavo. And let me add my words of welcome to those of Cardinal Turkson and Sister Helen and Gustavo. Thank you for the many sacrifices that all of you have made to take the time and the effort to come and be with us to share your depth of expertise in so many different areas. I will only add a few more words and be very brief to help, in some senses, set the stage by explaining a little bit of the thought that went behind the design of this program. Obviously, as we've already heard, it's a momentous time in history. We all know that. That's why we're here. The comparison that has been made to the Industrial Revolution in Pope Leo's thought and in many others is evident in the way that AI and related technologies are now transforming so many dimensions of our social life, of work, of human relations, of education, of the relations between nations. But that historical comparator is not the only one. Others have drawn comparisons to the advent of movable type and the printing press because of the way that artificial intelligence is affecting human cognition and knowledge itself. We believe that that analogy begins to point in the direction, but still is not enough. The changes and transformations that we're undergoing now are even more comprehensive than either of those historical comparators. Not merely because they're so comprehensive across all areas of human experience and social interactions and human activity, but because even more than their precedents, they call into question the very meaning of what it is to be a human being, what it is to be human. And therefore, the question needs to be addressed in a comprehensive way. First of all, in a comprehensive way across disciplines, across areas of knowledge, drawing on the technical aspects of science, bringing the social sciences and the understanding of society into play, the philosophical and theological sciences of understanding the nature of reality in a different way as well, and the disciplines of law and the normative sciences about how to order our common life together. Different sectors of AI. AI is deployed in all sorts of different ways. Do we talk to each other? Do we work together? We have to break down those barriers as well. And so again, on the one hand, one might look at the program and say, wait, in 2 days, we're trying to do everything. And in a certain sense, that's true, but that's by design to get us talking not only across disciplines, across the sectors in which AI is applicable so that we can learn from one another and proceed in an integral way. And lastly, we're trying to be comprehensive precisely by understanding that because of the revolution at stake is calling into question what it is to be human, we have to put the human person at the center of our inquiry. The very definition of our humanity, as has already been mentioned. And that therefore the ethical questions before us, the normative questions of governance, have to be preceded by an ontological question. The question of being precedes the question of ethics. We need resources and to draw on all the resources of human history in order to pose the question in a deep way. A question that, as Sister Helen was already suggesting and hinting at in her introductory remarks, has in a certain sense perhaps been hollowed out in the modern era. And so we need to recover to some extent the depth of the question of what it means to be human that cannot be simply rely on the least common denominator across the many differences in the human family. And so religious traditions, not only the Catholic one and Catholic social teaching, which Cardinal Turkson so quite synthetically introduced us to, but all of the rich traditions of philosophy and ethics and religion around the world from all of human experience, even while we learn from the most, the newest and most incomprehensible almost findings of the natural sciences in this area. I, as a scholar, particularly of human rights law, am reminded of a different historical moment, that of 1948, and the advent of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It was an unprecedented moment in human history in which different cultures and voices came together in order to arrive at what Pope John Paul II called one of the greatest achievements of the human conscience of our era. And we need nothing less, perhaps something even greater today. And so by putting the person at the center, both as an object on which this technology has an impact, but also as the subject which creates and uses and chooses how to use the technology, we are proposing to look at this with a certain kind of moral realism, both about the capacity for good and the capacity for evil that we all harbor. There has been a lot of doomsaying with regard to artificial intelligence, also a lot of celebrating of how it's going to transform reality for the good, perhaps even in a post-humanist way. Some say, some celebrate, and some reflection on AI for good. What we're proposing to do here is to put those things in dialogue with one another, to be clear-eyed that some limits are necessary, some discipline and governance is necessary, and that as a tool of and for human creativity, it can serve integral human development, understood to be the development of every person and of the whole person. So that helps to explain why we're proposing to cover so much ground in just barely, not even 2 days, and with such a diverse collection of guests and speakers from all different sectors and many different points of view. It is in some sense a certain ironic effort insofar as we begin it knowing that it cannot be satisfied already from the start. But the point is at least to begin together. So thank you for being part of this beginning with us.